You'll make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
All right, welcome into Greeny Sports Cards Live, the world's first multi-stream broadcast for the hobby industry. This is episode 102, if you can believe that. We've been coming to you every Tuesday night between 7 and 8 p.m. for over 2 years now. And what a ride it's been. And we will continue on that ride this evening with a ton of content to get to. And let's get to that here in the rundown. Lots to cover tonight, especially on the heels of the Ohio State Card Show that took place this past Saturday down in Columbus on January 31st. We'll recap that, and we'll check in with a couple of the key sponsors and vendors who participated there, including Keith Newhart of Newhart Cards, Thomas Fisher of Gemini Sports Cards. We talked to Steve Lunn of Key Cards, and we'll check in with Gibby's family as well. Anthony will join us as he did in that interview segment. So we'll talk about that with Greeny and what a show that was. And we'll get to hobby news with our resident hobby insider, Joe Wismirski, of course, out at Phoenix Sports Cards. Joe has an exciting week ahead. He's heading out to the big game, the Super Bowl here this weekend. So we'll check in with Joe and hear what's going on from the world of the hobby industry. And a little bit later on, we'll talk with Drew Hester of Greg Morris Cards, which will be a really fascinating discussion if you're into vintage cards in particular. But we'll get Drew's insight on Greg Morris Cards, one of the largest eBay purveyors out there as well. So lots and lots to get to this evening. And we'll go ahead and start it off with your quick hits for the hobby as we get into it this evening on Tuesday, February 3rd here on Greeny Sports Cards Live. So this week, of course, the big game will take place on Sunday, and Drake May rookie cards are exploding ahead of the Super Bowl. The hype has pushed May's rookie card market to record pricing, with multiple sales hitting highs as Patriot fans and speculators pile on. That comes to us from Collectibles on SI, the presenting sponsor of Greeny Sports Cards Live. Also from Collectibles on SI, you can get all the news that's fit to print over at si.com/collectibles. A newly graded 1990 Topps Frank Thomas, quote, no name error just surfaced with a Beckett 9. It's one of the rarest cards from the junk wax era, and this example is now one of the highest known grades out there. In other news, a rare Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls Wisconsin Dairy Council card set from 1989-1990 has resurfaced. It spotlights one of the strangest regional promotional sets ever produced. Collectors are now buzzing over the artwork and the unusual origin story tied to healthy eating campaigns with Michael Jordan. You can check that out on Sports Collectors Daily. Nikola Jokic Christmas Day triple-double jersey just sold for 6 figures. The jersey comes from one of the greatest Christmas Day performances in NBA history, and the bidders responded accordingly. And of interest to us here in particular, in Greeny, a new deep dive into how dealers choose what to bring to shows is making waves. This report also comes from Sports Collectors Daily. The report highlights the strategy behind inventory selection, travel constraints, and what actually sells on the show floor. So that's your quick hits. More to come with Joe Wismierski in Hobby News. And with that, we will welcome in the man himself, Steve Greenberg, aka Greeny, the namesake of Greeny Sports Cards and Greeny Sports Card Live. Good evening.
Good evening, Jeremy. Good evening. What a weekend we had. But before we get into that, Haley's gonna bring up Alex Schott, who runs our auctions on eBay Live, has been taking a break because him and his wife just brought a new baby girl into the world. So Scarlett was born last week, and we wanted to congratulate Alex and his wife and baby brother as well. So congratulations to Alex, and that's why the auctions haven't been on last week or for the next couple weeks. They got some stuff at home to take care of and situate and get a new baby room all set up. So congratulations to Alex.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Alex, adding to the extended family. Very exciting news. The circle of life continues, of course. No auction tonight, as you mentioned, but if you are into auctions, you do want to make sure you check out one of our official sponsors, Sport Card Auctions, sports card consignments. You can find them at sportcardauctions.com. If you are looking to turn your card collection into serious cash at Sport Card Collections, they'll make it simple. They've got professional services. All you have to do is ship your cards, and Sport Card Auctions will handle the rest. Dave and his team, they'll take care of everything from photography to listing, grading, and shipping. With over 15 years of experience and a 99% customer satisfaction rate, they are the trusted source of thousands in the industry, including Greeny Sports Cards. So thank you to Dave and his team for their continued support. Greeny, lots to get to tonight. And I think you and I and the extended world that was there in Columbus this weekend is still buzzing from the Ohio State Card Show, first time launch. And want to give everybody kind of a quick overview shot of the show. We'll come back and talk about it, Greeny, and then we've got a couple of our sponsors checking in with some feedback as well. So here's a quick highlight of the Ohio State Card Show. All right, Greeny, it's been a couple days. What are you feeling about the show?
You know, leading up to it, we really had no idea. We knew how many tables were going to be there. We knew that it was split down the middle of Pokemon and sports, but you never know how many people are going to come, especially in the kind of weather that we had. Not that it was bad, but it was, negative 15 degrees when we were getting to the show Saturday morning. But man, it brought people out, and the advertising was terrific. The sponsors were terrific. Everybody was posting about it for weeks and weeks, and man, it was terrific. And I think at one point I looked ahead of him. I said, "Do you see how many people are in this room?" And we had Jacob came with his drone and did an overview of the show. And he showed us, he brought his computer up and he's like, "Hey, take a look at this." Because you can't see everything from, where we were. And there was a lot of people at this show. And another interesting thing, we've been doing shows for a long time. And usually you can tell when a show's winding down, when vendors start packing up. They didn't pack up early at this show. They were there until the end. So open to close. Yeah, what a terrific setting this was. A great building, a great, everything about it. The Schmidt's concession stand was terrific. So, yeah, I mean, it was all that we could have imagined it been.
One of the things that really stood out for me, Greeny, and you could see from this overhead, there 311 tables on the floor plan. There was a ton of people there, but because of the venue and because of the layout, it was never uncomfortable. There were significantly wide aisles, a minimum of 10 feet on all the aisles, up to 12 and a half in some cases, and really wide cross aisles. So there was plenty of room for people to maneuver. It never felt crowded, even though there was just a stream of people coming through the doors starting at 9 a.m. And it was pretty remarkable. Like you said, we no idea what to expect. You put these things together. You lay out a floor plan, you market it. We use the analogy of it's kind of like throwing a birthday party. You send out the invitations and you hope people are going to show up, and they did in droves. So appreciate Columbus showing up and supporting this first time event. It really is. It was the largest combination of sports and TCG entertainment cards that has been held there to date, and it'll continue to grow. Let's check in with a couple of sponsors and partners. The show would not be possible without them, including Pokey Wings, who checked in. We appreciate that. And if you have a comment, feel free to drop in from wherever you're watching. We can enroll you into the show. If you have questions for our guests, if you have comments or feedback, wherever you're watching on any of the streams in real time, feel free to drop a comment and we'll get you into the show. But first, let's check in with Keith Newhart of Newhart Cards.
Jeremy Levine here on behalf of Greeny Sports Cards at the Ohio State Card Show, and we're here with Keith Newhart. Keith, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, I appreciate it for sure.
So, first ever, the Ohio State Card Show. You've been on board since the beginning as a partner of Greeny Sports Cards. What are your first impressions of the show?
Very impressed. Very impressed. From the second that the crowd started coming in, they've been buyers. It's a great location. The facilities are really nice. We got plenty of room to move. It's been a really positive experience.
Terrific.
Yeah. Yes.
What are you representing here today? What kind of cards did you bring out?
Yeah, so basically some of the stuff that we love are like Hall of Fame autographs. We love 90s inserts. We like low numbered stuff, and we do sell a decent amount of vintage as well. So we like to have a little bit of everything. And we had some higher end wax as well, like the cup. And so we had some optic football. We still have some flawless left, but that's moved as well. So
terrific.
Yeah.
And you're based out of Columbus,
we
this
are.
area.
Yep, just a little bit north Delaware, Ohio. So
what are you looking forward to this year from the hobby?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting year with Fanatics taking over. April the 1st, they're going to take over the football licenses. So I think a lot of collectors are looking forward to it, but they're also looking back and say, we're not going to have Prism. We're not going to have National Treasures anymore. So Fanatics has some big shoes to fill, but I think it's going to be an exciting year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Two things. What's your favorite card in your personal collection, and what is a card that you'd be reticent to give up, but you'd be willing to sell out?
Absolutely.
Here?
So I collect presidential cut autographs. So I collect, most of them are amazingly affordable. A few years ago, I thought, well, this is the 250th, year since the Declaration. So I thought that would be kind of a cool thing. And there's only 47, of them. So I collect presidential cuts, and I also collect Kirby Puckett.
Okay.
I've always been a Minnesota Twins fan, New York Mets fan. Kirby Puckett is another guy that I collect as well. So,
terrific.
Yeah.
Keith, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for being
Appreciate
here.
it,
That's
guys.
Newhart Cards.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Check them out online and when you're in the Columbus area.
Yep.
Yeah, Newhart Cards in Delaware, Ohio. Terrific shop, friend of the show, friend of ours. So we couldn't thank them enough for helping out with that.
Next up, another friend of the show, friend of ours, Steve Lund from Key Cards, joined us at the first ever The Ohio State Card Show.
We're out here at the Ohio State Card Show presented by Greeny Sports Cards and joined by Steve Lund of Key Cards. Steve, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's been fun.
First show ever at Expo Center, Kasich Hall. First show for Key Cards here as well. What are your first impressions?
Really, really impressed. The crowd has been really good, and we're seeing a wide variety of buyers. People who are clearly buying to keep the cards, which is always good when you're trying to sell cards. A good mix of folks that are clearly doing the resale thing, which is also good when you're trying to sell cards. The space is outstanding. It was only 1 degree this morning, but I don't think it hurt. So it's been awesome.
That's been pretty remarkable too. It was when we started loading in this morning, it was minus 11. It's now up to about 14 degrees, but it has not stopped the crowd from coming in.
Yeah. Obviously, the show has been good enough to draw a nice crowd. The fact that it was cold did not hurt it, I don't think.
So we've talked to you and Key Cards on the show itself on Tuesday night. Now you're here physically. What did you bring to the show to represent your business?
Try to bring as wide a variety as is physically possible to fill up these fun tables. So vintage has sold pretty well. Pokemon has sold pretty well. We had a little bit of One Piece, which I don't understand at all.
I don't either.
People love it, so we're all good with that. And then, of course, the modern stuff it always sells well, especially football.
So do you have a card in your collection, a piece in your collection that you would be reticent to part with?
Oh, absolutely. My wife would say I have a whole bunch. But if I had to choose one, it would be my Kobe Bryant Topps Chrome Rookie in a 9 with no greening. Greening is prevalent on Chrome and Finest and all of that. Mine somehow has no greening, and I just love the card. So that would be number one for me.
Fantastic. And let everybody know again, Key Cards, where can they find you?
Key
both
Cards.
Online and in person.
We've got our physical location in Jeffersonville, Indiana, 409 Spring Street. We've been open about 7 months, going really well. We're on Whatnot. We're just starting on eBay Live on Monday, all under Key Cards. So would love to see some new faces.
Thanks to Steve Lunn and Key Cards for joining us at the first ever The Ohio State Card Show.
I mentioned that in that segment, Greeny. It was really cold. It was somewhere between -11, -15 when everybody started moving in, and it didn't stop people from coming. And the snow, some record snowfall in Columbus that had piled up. It was really remarkable. Speaking of One Piece, I did get an education on that from Gibby's family, who showed up in full force and has always been great supporters of the shows. And we got to talk to Anthony from Gibby's family.
We're out here at the Ohio State Card Show presented by Greeny Sports Cards. Anthony from Gibby's family joining us out here for the first time launch of this show in Kasich Hall out here at the Ohio Expo Center. What were your initial thoughts coming into this show, and how's the experience been?
Experience been great. Greeny's always throwing a great show. I mean, buying-wise been good, selling-wise been good. It's just, in general, everything's been great. We've been selling a lot of Pokemon. We've been doing the One Piece. One Piece has been great. And then also, too, the sports-wise people, I've been seeing a crazy amount of them, too. So it's great.
Fantastic. So in your personal collection, do you have cards or cards that you'd be a little nervous to part with, or is everything for sale in Gibby's family world?
For me, for a personal collection, it's more for my daughters. So I'm putting it away. I really don't have a personal collection for myself. I'm putting it away for them for long term. I wouldn't sell it because I want them to enjoy it and have some money and when they grow up and, have a little bit of a future ahead of them.
Very good. I think one of the really unique things about the hobby is the generational aspect. You might see grandparents out here with young kids or young adults, older adults. There's something for everybody when you come to these types of shows.
I mean, just like we talked about earlier, the kid-wise to the older people, I mean, you're having people come in here that haven't bought Pokemon before to people that are just getting into it. Like my age, we grew up into it and we were kids, couldn't buy a pack. Now we're buying plethoras of packs. I'm playing plethoras of cards. So it's like the experience is just so enjoyable from seeing it from a kid's point to a older adult aspect, because like anybody comes in here, I don't think they're having a bad time.
Lastly, Anthony, we were talking about One Piece a little bit. Give us an idea. What is One Piece, and why should anybody be interested in it these days?
So One Piece is an anime, which a lot of people, it's a very long one. You got some time, go ahead, give it a watch. One of my more favorite ones, but also there's a lot other out there, but One Piece is just growing exponentially. I bought a PSA 10 slab that went up $650 in 1 week. Wow. I mean, the mangas are jumping, the SPs are jumping, but it's just also the card game's a lot of fun too. So if you're out there trying to get into something new, instead of Pokemon, One Piece is the game.
Where can we find Gibby's family? Where can we find you if somebody wants to get more information?
Gibby's family, we're on Instagram, Facebook. We also got TikTok. And then we post on Greeny's pages all the time too. So we're trying to support each other as much as possible. Come check us out. Make sure you guys also go check out Greeny's shows. They're amazing. We've been showing up about 2-3 years now. We don't miss one. So make sure you guys go check us out today.
Fantastic. What a time to be alive. You could have fun playing games, collecting, buying, selling, trading. If it's in the hobby, it's in the hall.
It was in the hall, Jeremy. It was.
Pretty cool stuff. So I learned about One Piece, learned about the TCG's taking over the hobby space. Of course, we know that. And then lastly, for this segment, we checked in with a dear friend of Greeny Sports Cards, Thomas Fisher of Gemini Sports Cards.
The Ohio State Card Show presented by Greeny Sports Cards. We are here with Tom Fisher of Gemini Sports Cards. Tom, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, Jeremy.
First time show, first time launch for the Ohio State Card Show here in Columbus. What are your initial impressions?
It's been absolutely outstanding. I have done shows here for the better part of 15 years in this venue, and it's always been an event with a card show. This time it is strictly a card show. No event, no autograph signers. So the people that are here are actually here for cards. And I think it's been an overwhelming success.
At the National, for example, you're famous for your 5-4-3-2-1 experience.
Correct.
What are you presenting here at the Ohio State Card Show, and how does that differ, if at all?
So it's a little different here where I'm undisciplined with this show, where I bring I bring a bunch of boxes that I haven't gone through, and I just put them out at $1 a cart. And I let the customer decide if they want them or not. And they've loved digging here all day. And then I have upwards to a $75,000 LeBron logo man. Similar to the National, where I go low to high, but it's a condensed version.
Tom, do you have any item or card in your world that you would not part with? Is there a personal collection card, or is everything available for the right price?
Thankfully, I don't need the right price. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
So yes and no.
Yes and no.
All right, we're finishing the interview here.
And scene.
And
that's typical.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, good ending. Very good ending. Way to end it.
Greeny, I mentioned this before. You know, I don't buy and sell and collect in that sense, but one of my favorite things is to collect these relationships. And the best part of the shows for me are getting to see old friends and new friends. And we got to spend time with the dude from Hobby Ohio and Tom Fisher and Adam was there, of course, the whole team, Cliff and Drew, and it was, you know, kind of a who's who of supporting cast. Rob. I know I'm forgetting a couple people, but it really took a village to get this thing up and going, particularly because what many people don't realize, we walked in that morning and the lights were entirely off in the venue with about an hour to get everybody in.
Right. Yeah, but somehow things came together. Josh at the door was unbelievable. Contact, like, he talked to everybody that walked in. I think he even brought a bunch of the fishing show people in and had them walk around. But yeah, terrific. Everybody. Rob helped out. A couple of my fraternity brothers came and hung out, Keith and Joe, and yeah, what a great day. And you know, the dude helping out. So unbelievable show. We've already been asked when's the next one. You know, we have 364 days. So you know,
We do. And about 28 more shows to go this year, including a big announcement coming up here later in the broadcast. But for now, it is time for Hobby News with Joe Wismerski.
There's Joe Wismerski.
There I am.
There he is.
Jeremy, big news. So you learned a little bit about One Piece, right?
Yeah.
So here's a One Piece card for you. There's a show promoter out of St. Louis who has officially banned One Piece from being bought or sold at his shows due to thinking that there's graphic nature on these cards, right? So it can be graphic. Here is a funny card, though. It does look a little graphic, right? But this character is actually a man in the storyline who transforms into a woman to use like as their superpower, right? In the actual show. So it's funny, like some of the things that they think are over sexualized and that kind of stuff, but it's really a guy who has transformed themselves so that they could take advantage of Monkey D. Luffy, who is the main character of One Piece. So
yeah,
don't want to go too far off the rails, Jeremy, but while you were still learning, And if you wanted to learn more, One Piece has caught my attention too. I have cards that are sitting there that are at PSA to be graded. But if you're looking for cards that may have a ton of value, right? When you're looking at One Piece cards, so they have down here, they have a little number pattern. So it says like OP8, which is like the actual set. But above that area, there would be a little star. And that's when you're starting to look for the cards that might be the special illustration rares. They say SIRs, the alternate arts, or the mangas that a lot of people are talking about. So the other cool thing about these cards, and I don't know if you or Greeny have held them before, but the craftsmanship, because it is truly a game. Pokemon's a little bit more flimsy. This is a little bit thicker, like royal playing cards, like a deck of royal playing cards. It has that type of stock and gloss to it. So these cards do very well when it comes to grading, which then increases the value of that. So kind of cool with One Piece, and it is really exploding. And we're seeing even at the shop here, people are coming in asking for that product because it's kind of a nice little alternative to Pokemon, or in addition to Pokemon.
Well, fascinating stuff there, Joe. You know, the Elvis was once controversial, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and here we are with One Piece freaking people out. So,
well, and in the hobby news, I want to make sure, like the show being a 50-50 show, I don't want there to be an overlap, Steve. So I'll split it right down the middle, and I will continue on to the sports side of this. So I don't want to upset. You know,
Thank you.
That's the one thing. I'm gonna get up on the high horse here. If you're a collector, you're a collector, right? You can like other things, right? You don't have to just like your specific thing. We can all come together for the sense of collecting. I get that we bring different audiences, right? TCG brings a different audience than sports, but dude, enough is kind of enough. Where you see this wildness, like I get the venues. The show promoters and the people that put on the shows have a limited space to work with, and they're trying to appease all types of audiences. So if you're out there and you're being critical of these people that are putting on shows and running shows, man, you should just be happy that they have space that they can accommodate everything, because it brings so much to that room, and it brings money to that room, right? And it brings money to buy things, and it also brings, the money to buy and resell. So that's my high horse, Steve. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. You know, it's interesting because there are people that are strictly Pokemon, but they do understand the value of the sports cards. And I know for a fact that a Pokemon guy bought a LeBron James autograph just to put away.
Yeah.
So,
well, absolutely.
And probably from money that came in the room from people that bought his Pokemon cards, he bought a LeBron James graded autograph. And he said, because, so the reason I'm buying a few Charizards, I know, right?
Well, Charizard can't tear an ACL, and like our buddy who was just pinned up there, James. I mean, James, a huge baseball collector, but James also kind of pivoted too, and he also got into non-sports. He got into Disney, and he's been very successful with that and collecting, because there is value there, right? So
that's right.
I think it's very cool that individuals are kind of broadening their horizons and definitely getting educated on the different sides of collecting. But like we said, at the end of the day, some of the stuff's pretty cool, because like a Charizard doesn't have an issue of running through a red light or getting a speeding ticket. So it can kind of sit pretty like steady when it comes to the price. So they also did have a big release this past week. I can tell you that, Steve. Ascended Heroes is supposed to be one of the biggest sets of the year for Pokemon. And they had an issue with when they actually did the print and distribution. They only were able to distribute for the release this last Friday 3-pack like blister like hangers. So it made it very limited for people to get out there, and we had a limited amount in the shop, and it's gone. It didn't even last 2 days. So I mean, the hobby is alive and well. This week, effective yesterday, Prism Football released. This is the last licensed Prism Football for the foreseeable future. It's expensive, right? Like we're looking upwards to almost $1,000 a box, but the amount of like items of potential that you can get in this product is pretty insane, from multiple case hits to, even getting a Cam Scattaboo, getting a Tet McMillan. It's going to be exciting, but all of this kind of raises a big question that I have for you, Steve.
Please.
We saw this happen with Wemby, right? So Wemby came into the league. He had rookie autos that weren't licensed. We're seeing it now with Drake May, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels. Do you foresee that a second-year Drake May or a third year that is licensed with Topps will outsell his non-licensed rookie?
I do. Do
you see that as an issue?
It's tough to say that, right? Is it an issue? I don't know, right? Is it people like what they like, right? Do I like some of the non-licensed cards? Sure, I think they look great. But it'll always not be a rookie card, right? The Wemby Topps Chrome autograph, but it's got the logo on it, and so maybe it takes you back to the Thurman Munson, right? His rookie is 1970, but the 1971 card sells way better. So, is there something about that? I don't know, right?
Yeah,
people like what they like.
It's interesting. So it's very interesting. It's a release of football, and we're really winding down what Panini has left as far as SKUs before Topps takes over in April. So that's going to be very interesting. I know I had mentioned before and Cut the Nonsense. My concern is that we're going to get a huge overflow of Topps Now cards, from just being drafted to a new play of the week to showing up to rookie minicamp or signing their first big deal, which that's great. I mean, those are they print those to a certain run when people stop buying them, right? The Topps Now, I believe.
Right.
So
yeah.
I guess the people have an opportunity to speak for themselves when it comes to that, but it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen once that license changes hands, because Topps has not printed any 2025 football at all. So to really know what they're going to do coming up here is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, look at the basketball. So the football is going to be just as good and just as fun.
Yeah. This past week too, basketball had its second SKU release with Topps Midnight, which Jeremy, for a guy that I know likes the idea of sports cards, right? Likes the overall. I want you to wrap your head around getting a pack of 7 cards for $1,200 to $1,300. Now you get 3 autos in it, Jeremy. I don't want to shortchange you there.
Okay.
But if you're a true sports collector, this is also coming on the heels of Bowman Draft, which was $600 to $900 a box on those. So I don't fear customer burnout, right? I don't fear that. But I think there's going to have to come a day of reckoning where there is a level out as far as the pricing. So it's going to be interesting, but you have your two types of collectors, right? You have your box breakers and you have your singles buyers. And we had a perfect storm in the shop today. We had 2 Major League Baseball players in the shop. And one is a Major League Baseball player who buys singles to sell on Whatnot while he's been rehabbing. And the other is a Major League Baseball player who's trying to pull a MLB debut patch, which also brought up another question, which they were trying to understand. One of their buddies was trying to buy his MLB debut patch that got pulled. And the collector was like, absolutely not. It's not for sale. And the guy, and it rubbed the player the wrong way, right? It really rubbed him the wrong way that he couldn't get this. And he's like, no, I'm so invested into this. And when we were speaking to the one player, he was like, yeah, he went through the debut process last year, right, for his patch. And he explained everything to it. So they keep the jersey on the whole game. After the game, they have 2 people from Fanatics that kind of are with them through the whole process. They come and they actually cut the debut patch out of the jersey. They're allowed to keep their jersey, but then it goes to MLB, and it kind of has its provenance all the way through.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hooked on phonics. But to hear that story and to hear it wasn't like they took the game jersey, but they were like, dude, that's such a big deal to not have that patch. And it really drives. And when I broke it down to him, I even showed him, I was like, dude, this is what it costs for those boxes. So not to say that that guy wasn't like, kind of being strong armed a little bit, but like there is a huge cost associated. And for the collectors that do go after these specific like items or chases, it can be incredibly expensive. So what you might have thought $10,000 is like a big deal for that patch, this guy might be 50,000 into ripping boxes to get to that. Yeah. So, and they understood that at that point too. And then the one player went on and bought 2 boxes, and the other guy went on and bought singles. So it was cool.
There you go.
Fun stuff.
Joe, let everybody know where they can find you online and in the store.
Yeah. So you can find us at PHX Sports Cards on Instagram and at 59th and Thunderbird in Glendale, Arizona at Phoenix Sports Cards. And then this week I will be out at the media day for the Super Bowl, which will be fun. You can follow that on the Sports Cards Nonsense Network.
Can't wait. Should be fun.
Can't wait
Should
to
be
hear
really
about
fun
it,
stuff. You're doing the
Tuesday.
kids interviews?
Well, I do have my fingerprint card, so I am acceptable around kids. So that is a good thing. Yes.
Enjoy.
On that note, thanks, Joe. Greeny, one more bit of breaking news as well to share. So we announced previously the co-location of the Strongsville Sports Collectors Convention and Great Lakes Collectors Convention. Well, tickets are going on sale, and they're going on sale tomorrow at 7 a.m. And you can head out to either strongsvillesports.com or greenysportscards.com. They will be available there. And that link will be live starting tomorrow, where you can get 2 shows, 1 destination. It's going to be one of the biggest shows in the country now, with the co-located vintage side, longest running vintage show in the country, with the Strongsville Sports Collectors Convention, and then the Great Lakes Pavilion. There will be over 500 plus tables of between your vintage pavilion, your modern pavilion, and the TCG pavilion. And just wait till these autograph guests start rolling out as well. So you're going to have the Card Show Live Theater. You're going to have a plethora of top name guests signing, both Cleveland sports stars and national sports stars and entertainers. And then, of course, the experience itself. Can't wait for that one. And so those tickets will be on sale tomorrow starting at 7 a.m. Big savings. Make sure you get in advance through the month of February. You're going to save upwards of 25% getting those tickets now. So make sure you don't wait. Prices go up next month and then at the door. So jump in, get those cards for what will be one of the biggest shows, certainly in this area and potentially across the country.
Yep. The link will be right on our homepage tomorrow, greenysportscards.com.
Very good. Coming up shortly, we're going to talk to Drew Hester from Greg Morris Cards. Before that, we go around the country on Card Show Live to talk about the upcoming shows.
Welcome on into this edition of Card Show Live, where we will preview some of the shows around the country and our top 5 for you guys to check out. This week, thankfully, we have a little break after our few weeks of card shows. We don't have one this week, so we're going to take you around the country, starting in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, where they always have one of the great shows. It's Fat Daddy Sports, and I've been to this show. It's 5 rooms and nearly 200 tables. So it's in like a community center, and you can walk around in the different rooms. They hold this the beginning of every month. So check that out. Oak Creek, Wisconsin, nearly 200 tables, run by Fat Daddy Sports. Then one of our favorite shows, and we've talked about this show several times, HB Cards in South Bend, Indiana, where Notre Dame is. They have a little show. It's 40 tables, but man, is it mighty. And there are some terrific vendors that set up at this show every month. So HB Cards, that's Haley and Ben Williams. They do a great job. The South Bend Card Show in Indiana. Another show that we've talked about a little bit, and he's been a guest on our show, Cole McAuliffe from Collectibles on College in Arizona. Before their big show that we'll talk about, in another month, but they have their monthly show at the Presbyterian Church, Collectibles on College. That is in Tempe, Arizona, the home of Arizona State. About 100 tables, and they do this show every month there at the Presbyterian Church in Tempe, Arizona. From there, another friend of the show, Frank DeMott's Savannah, Georgia show is going on this week at the Civic Center. 150 tables, CardFest 3, you can see that. That is Saturday, February the 7th. And that, again, is in Savannah, Georgia, which will have better weather than Cleveland, Ohio. And then you can go all the way out to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and check out JC Shows, 120 tables at the Radisson. That is Sunday, February the 8th, the day of the big game. And then after that, you can go home and watch a game and maybe buy your Drake May cards or your Sam Darnold cards and maybe make yourselves a couple bucks. But JC Shows in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. You can check that one out, 120 tables. And there is our top 5 shows of the week on Card Show Live. And you can check out all of our shows for the rest of the year on greenieshows.com. That's a lot, Jeremy. A lot.
That is a lot. That is a lot. Yeah, excellent stuff. No shortage of shows to check out around the country. And as always, these shows do not happen without great partnerships, great producers, and great friends of the shows. And a friend of this show is Giannino's Pizzeria.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm a year older now, so Mommy can give me Giannino's Pizza. Hey, whoever thought of making a great tasting Giannino's Pizza with all these fresh ingredients? They gotta be some kind of genius. More, Mommy.
Every Giannino's pizza is made with fresh dough, delicious tomato sauce without additives or preservatives, and fresh provolone cheese shredded daily. For a location near you, go to gianninos.com.
You want a piece of me?
That's perfect for Sunday, Super Bowl game day.
It is. If you're anywhere in and around Ohio, find one of their locations for pizza, breadsticks, wings, salads, terrific salad dressing to top it all off. So our thanks to Giannino's and all of our partners. Greeny, really excited to talk to our featured guest tonight. He operates within one of the most trusted brands in the entire hobby. Greg Morris Cards is the gold standard for vintage grading, high volume eBay auctions, and the most consistent raw card evaluation operation in the business. Greg Morris Cards moves tens of thousands of cards every month, and Drew Hester is at the center of that engine. He's part of the team that's built a national following, doing things the right way with accuracy, transparency, and a relentless commitment to getting vintage into the hands of collectors who love it. It is our pleasure to welcome in Drew Hester of Greg Morris Cards.
Hey, Drew,
Hey, how you guys doing? Good.
Doing
How
great.
you doing, Steve?
Not bad. How is it out there in California? A little bit nicer
It's
than
all right.
Cleveland? Yeah.
Yeah, we're the only lucky ones that I think we're the hottest place in the United States for the past couple of weeks. So feel a
Yeah,
little
very
spoiled,
good.
to say the least.
Yeah, very good. So if you hadn't heard, and maybe you heard us say earlier, I know you've attended the Strongsville Sports Card Show the last several years, and we're pleased to announce that we're combining our show with their show. So we will have one big room with vintage on one side, modern on the other, and kind of the best of both worlds. So hopefully you'll be able to make that one again.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely one of my favorite shows across the country. It's a huge staple in the vintage community, as it has been for many years. Easy place to get in and get out when you have to travel. And I know you have vendors lined up with the show that you guys run, and Strongsville has some of the best vendors as well. So that's quite the accomplishment to team up with them. That's for sure.
So take us into a little bit how you started, how you got into this hobby, and then we'll really dive into Greg Morris and how they operate. But take us back to a little bit when you started getting involved in the hobby.
Yeah, so me personally, I was never really a part of the hobby. I wasn't really a card collector. I've been an insane sports follower, you could say. I was really big into memorabilia as a kid. I was always about autographed baseballs, jerseys, game worn stuff. I never really dabbled into cards, never really gained knowledge from cards. But I've always been in the sports marketplace, you could say. When it comes to sports, I knew more than everybody. But then I met a fellow named Greg Morris, and there's kind of like He kind of gave me my own avenue to do things. I actually originally started at Greg Morris, and was like, hey, look, I'll jump in here as long as you give me the opportunity to be a breaker. I wanted to be a breaker, someone who got to open cards live, got to get that thrill, and really kind of hang out with the new crowd and constantly stay consistent in the modern inventory. But then some things changed in the landscape of Greg Morris, and I got an opportunity to step in and really have gone, full throttle since. Like I said before, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So Greg was actually the first boss that I've had, which is quite funny. I make that joke all the time. But now that I'm in it, I'm very entrenched in it. We're one of the biggest companies around when it comes to vintage cards. We now have this year, our main focus is modern and graded cards. We're going to be pumping a ton of money into that marketing wise, really finding a niche when it comes to listing those raw modern cards and those graded modern cards. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started. I mean, I'm like really happy to say that I learn more and more every single day in this business. I'm not someone that jumped in here and knew everything and knew what to do. I've kind of done it my way and had to learn following footsteps of others, or just learn from experience of going to shows, meeting people like you, and other vendors and other entrepreneurs in this space. And it's really helped me grow.
So that's such a huge transition, modern to vintage. People don't think, well, okay, there's modern cards, there's vintage cards, but man, it takes a lot to learn the vintage market. And one of the things that Greg Morris's reputation is grading. And people don't understand that, there's PSA grading, there's SGC, there's Beckett, but Greg Morris actually grades raw cards and sells them raw. So tell us really how that works.
Yeah, I mean, Greg created a standard about 10, 15 years ago when it came to grading, where he essentially took the three major grading companies and made it a little bit stricter, a little bit tighter on how he saw things. He's never really deviated from that sense, but more or less, he did this to tailor to the true collector. When it comes to vintage, there's not many true collectors left, and there really isn't any companies that help the true collector. Now, I'm talking about someone who had packs as a kid, who still keeps them in 9-page, binders, who doesn't want to get graded, doesn't want to have a card encapsulated with plastic, and they just want to create that nostalgia of collecting that raw card that they always had, without being a part of this new crowd who has to get everything graded. Everything has to be numerical. So Greg gave that visual representation of a card without having to put the numerical or plastic behind it. And that kind of changed the way people collect, to a certain crowd at least. And in his sense, we get 5,000 cards a day roughly. We don't look at cards like PSA or SGC. We're not going to sit there and spend 30 seconds to a minute on a card. We have to act within 5 to 10 seconds. So we give you a range. We only go up to the grade 8 really. So it kind of helps us, stay pretty consistent with our grading. I mean, human make mistakes no matter what, but that has really changed the whole landscape of vintage, because people who still build sets, looking to create these perfect sets, runs of 52 to 75, they're going to want the raw cards. And there's only one place you can really go that's going to give you the honest truth of what the card is and how it's being represented when you buy it.
Drew, Greg Morris Cards sees more vintage cards in a month than most collectors see in a lifetime. What kind of trends are you noticing in condition of cards, scarcity, or really demand in the vintage space?
Like the main trend that I see, but then again, I talk about this trend since I started 4 years ago, is that people are getting things graded too often, in my mind. There's no point in sending a $20 card off to get graded for $25 for PSA. And I think that the education behind it and how you collect and teaching people like, hey, this is where it becomes valuable, get it graded, this doesn't necessarily make sense, is kind of something that's not out there in the public. So I see these trends a lot. I'm always saying like, man, pretty soon, or I walk into a show, this is another one, is I walk into a show and people will tell me, pretty soon everything's going to be dried up. Everybody's getting everything graded. There's nothing around. The influx of vintage cards is almost nonstop. You just have to know the community and the individuals that collect, because there's people out there updating sets and updating cards daily. Now, the scarcity, I do see more of that happen. The high grade cards are starting to kind of not disappear, but collectors are putting them into their vaults or their safes or their homes or handing them down to grandkids and kids. So I do see a lot less high valued cards. But then on the complete polar opposite, I see Mickey Mantle rookies going all time highs. I mean, they're like 100x in the past 3 months, it feels like. I'm seeing them sold every couple days, which usually you don't see them because they are so scarce. So there's a lot of moving parts. And to be honest, a lot of them I can't watch because things move so quickly that I couldn't tell you sometimes what a card sold for 3 months ago and what it's going to sell now because somewhat is unpredictable with some of these trends that I see.
Couple guys, occasionally we have the conversation about vintage cards and where vintage cards are going to go. Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, those names are never going to go away. But like, Jeremy as a young daughter who may collect cards, she collects basketball, but like people that have young kids, are they going to grow up and buy a Robin Yount card or a Brooks Robinson? Where do you see the vintage market going? Is it here to stay? Is it not going anywhere? Is it going to change? Does that make people nervous with the younger generation?
Initially, I had that same type of thought of what you're driving. I'd walk around to the shows and I'd see the same dealers. I would see the same age groups, and nobody's getting any younger, right? Every time we go somewhere. But what's really happened in the past year has been the younger crowd has been tapping into the vintage market. So, for instance, these guys who are working vintage cards and they're working for profit. So, I mean, modern cards, sorry. They buy and sell, and maybe they're flippers or whatnot. But they do realize there's high volatility around a modern card. You had a gentleman on before you talking about Pokemon, how Charizard's not going to get a speeding ticket. It's the same thing with all these vintage players. There's not going to be any scandal with them. They're not going to sneeze and pull a muscle in their back and be out for a year. So the volatility is not there in vintage. It's very stable. So a lot of these younger kids that I see are investing heavily in vintage because they know there is scarcity. There is there's a certain way that a card looks that makes it way more valuable if you have it. So I do see the younger crowd slowly starting to catch on to vintage. At the same time, they are collecting modern. Now, for instance, I have 2 kids. I don't see them collecting or wanting to learn about vintage. But let's say 20 years down the road, they're going to understand that there's value in it. It's very similar to, investing in a stock. I invested in Mickey Mantle. I'm a collector who just loves to buy low grade Mickey Mantles, and I'm planning on holding on to thousands of them when I retire, right? But I see a lot of the younger crowd catching on to this and catching on to vintage because they see the value in it. They really do. Compared to the modern market, you could hit huge home runs in the modern market, but there's also not a lot of cards that you could stay and hold on to. Vintage, you do that all day long.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point because we do often hear that in the TCG space about how Charizard's not going to break his leg or get a speeding ticket. The vintage players, their careers are what they are, and so they're established. My next question, Drew, is around the evolution of Greg Morris cards. So eBay was transformative for many businesses, particularly yours as well. You have a huge presence on eBay. You mentioned earlier you're getting into the modern space, and that'll be a different iteration. Talk a little bit about the Greg Morris way and what you've done in the vintage space and how you see that translating over to modern.
Yeah, I mean, we plan on delivering the cards the same. We try to grade them as honest as we can, and really give you that sense what you're buying is what you are getting. But another thing we've really preached is the customer service. We have someone, we're kind of one of the only crew left that has someone you could talk to physically. We have a no questions asked return policy. If you're not happy with something, you could return it. But the biggest thing that I see translating into the modern space is that there really isn't a place for people to sell their $5 to $80 cards. There's only card shows. So there's the only better way to do that is to kind of expand. And I see us focusing on that the most, which is expanding through the raw modern cards, because I buy modern cards still. I mean, when you open a box of Topps Chrome Update, what are you going to do with all these cards? What are you going to do with your numbered cards over time? There's got to be a place for you to liquidate them so that you can then reinvest and buy something new. So I want to focus on that because everybody else is focused on who's going to sell the six-figure card, who's going to sell the Wemby rookie, who's going to sell this gold vinyl. But that's kind of where we're going to push this because we'll always be able to sell the high-end graded card, vintage, modern, TCG. It's not a problem. But I really want to tailor to that group who has something in the $100 range that they're just holding on to. It's not worth grading, but it's still a nice card. It's still something that people want to collect. Everybody has a favorite athlete that they want to collect.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting, and you're right. Everybody is looking for the big home run cards, but there is something with the lower end, and we're not talking lower end 1-2, but in the $20 to $100 range, right? And there has to be a place to go for that as well.
For sure, and that's going to be our main goal over time.
How many cards does Greg Morris sell in a month? Do you know? Can you tell us?
Yeah, so right now it's up since this last year, but it's very difficult for us because there's only so much time in the day that I could list a card, especially on eBay. Like I don't want to have cards ending at 4 a.m. So kind of our peak for vintage rest around $4,000 to $4,500 cards a day. Sorry, and that's raw vintage. We do roughly 300 to 1,000 a day in graded. And then right now we do roughly 400 to 700 in raw modern, but the raw modern skips days sometimes, especially on the weekends and stuff. So we really come around 5,000 cards every day.
There's got to be some remarkable pieces that come through there, Drew. Is there a day or days that stand out though that it was just one card after another that you kind of blew the collective mind that these things are coming through?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's weekly, daily, we see things like that. But at the same time, we have to sell so many cards and process so many cards a day that there necessarily isn't any time to focus and see something. Every now and then, a grader will walk in my office and be like, "You've got to look at this card." But for the, majority of the time, it's very hard to track. It's like I have people and friends in the hobby that call me like, "Drew, what's going to be listed this week? You got anything good that's coming?" I'm like, I could not tell you because we operate more or less like a factory and we're trying to get these things processed and out. We're trying to be honest and communicate well with our clients that are selling their cards. We're also trying to help the buyer and the consumer find what they want as fast as they can and keep bringing them in as fast as they can. So I still get wowed by a lot of cards that come in because I'm kind of a nerd in that way. And I like to, I have the coolest job on the planet. I technically get to play with toys for a living. Like it's freaking awesome as an adult. So, the mantles is what always gets me, or the Cracker Jacks, or the T206. But now more and more of what I'm seeing that really gets it going is like 3 days ago, we had a 1956 master set with cards that I haven't seen ever populate. It was just remarkable. I've never seen anything like this. And we had great success with it. But something like that is kind of the unicorn to me because the amount of time and money invested for someone to create that is just wild to me. It blows my mind.
Listen, this Drew is fantastic stuff. We could go for hours on the inner workings of Greg Morris. We are up against it here, but we're going to have you back at some time. I personally appreciate Greg Morris. I found you guys probably 2.5 years ago, and I have a new batch of stuff ready to go out next week. And the process is terrific. It's really easy. You just send the cards, and there's a little form to fill out, and you get your cards up, and you can watch them in real time on your website, on the Greg Morris site. It is terrific, and most of my vintage cards, that's where they go nowadays is Greg Morris cards. So, Drew, we appreciate it. We can't wait to see you at a show coming up soon, and definitely in April in Cleveland.
Yeah, I'll definitely see you in Cleveland. I'll be almost a half week. I'm excited though. I'm excited you guys partnered up. I think that's absolutely amazing. It's a great spot, great location, and the walk the door. I'm telling you, they are some of the best collectors we have in the United States.
All right, Drew, thanks for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you come April. And our thanks to everybody else who joined us this evening. Joe Wizmirski out at Phoenix Sports Cards, and then everybody else at the Ohio State Card Show. Travis, Gibby's family, Newhart, Key Cards, Gemini, Pokey Wings, all the people that supported us, Hobby Ohio. Greeny, thank you for what you do. May the cards forever be in your favor.
Have a good night, everybody.